It was one of those perfect Sunday afternoons in Maple Ridge, where the sun drapes everything in a warm, golden glow, and the air carries the sweet hum of kids playing tag down the street. I'm Matt Harper, just an average guy who pours his heart into his little corner of suburbia tidy lawn, a wraparound porch perfect for coffee at dawn, and a cedar fence I'd built board by board, sweat and splinters included. That fence wasn't just a boundary. It was a promise to my family, a shield for our quiet life, a symbol of the home I'd worked years to make ours. So when I turned in my driveway that day, my stomach dropped like a stone. My fence was gone, not damaged, obliterated. Splinters and broken planks littered the yard like a battlefield, bulldozer tracks gouging the earth. My sanctuary had been gutted, and I stood frozen, heart pounding, trying to make sense of the carnage. I waded through the wreckage, each step crunching like a betrayal under my boots. The warm breeze, usually a friend on lazy evenings, felt cruel, whistling through the jagged remains as if mocking my loss. My wife, Sarah, stepped outside, her eyes wide, voice trembling. "Matt, what happened?" I couldn't answer. My throat was tight, rage and disbelief choking me. Then I saw a white piece of paper fluttering against a shattered plank like a taunt. I snatched it up, hands shaking, and read words that lit a fire in my chest. It was a notice, cold and official, from something called the HOA enforcement team. It claimed my fence violated some vague structural aesthetics rule. I've lived here a decade, kept my place pristine, and never heard of this HOA. The note had no signature, no phone number, just a smug authority that made my blood boil. I stormed inside, the crumpled paper in my fist, Sarah trailing behind, her questions unanswered. My mind raced. I'd mowed every blade of grass, painted the house every 3 years, followed every rule I knew. This wasn't about aesthetics. It was personal, a deliberate attack. I called the city, my voice sharp, demanding answers. Nothing. No record of this HOA existed. Emails bounced back, dead ends. But whispers from neighbors echoed in my head talk of Greg Sullivan, a man who'd turned our peaceful suburb into his personal kingdom. He called himself HOA president, strutting around with his clipboard-wielding goons, slapping fines on people for nonsense like unapproved mailbox colors or grass too tall by an inch. Folks paid up, scared of his threats, liens, lawsuits, even losing their homes. The more I thought about it, the hotter my anger burned. This wasn't just about my fence. It was about power stolen and abused. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, the image of my ruined fence seared into my mind. Sarah brought me coffee, her hand on my shoulder, but I barely noticed. Papers piled up, old HOA notices neighbors had slipped me, complaints about fines for rose bushes or cracked sidewalks. Mrs. Larson, a sweet widow down the street, had paid Dulaw $500 for non-compliant flowers. The Wilsons faced a lien over a driveway crack barely viable. This wasn't governance. It was a shakedown. My anger hardened into something sharper resolve. I wasn't just fighting for my fence. I was fighting for Maple Ridge, for every neighbor too scared to speak up. I started knocking on doors the next day. At first, people were cagey, peering through curtains, voices low like Sullivan's enforcers might be lurking. Old Mr. Jenkins, his hands trembling, showed me a notice threatening to seize his home over a faded mailbox. "I paid," he whispered, "but it never stops." When I showed them my crumpled notice, their stories flooded out, fines for nothing. Letters slipped under doors at midnight. Fear so thick it choked the neighborhood. We were under siege, and Sullivan was the puppet master, his fake cops patrolling in cheap uniforms, spreading dread. But in those hushed conversations, something sparked. We weren't alone. We met in basements, swapping EVY denke, snapping photos of Sullivan's crew. Sarah helped organize, her quiet strength steadying us. We weren't just mad, we were ready to fight. The deeper we dug, the uglier it got. Late one night, surrounded by coffee cups and fading HOA letters, I stumbled on the truth in a pile of public records. Sullivan's HOA was a sham. No legal papers, no registration, nothing filed with the city. It was a mirage, conjured by a man with no authority but endless audacity. Digging further, I found Sullivan's pasta string of failed businesses, bankruptcies, dreams that crashed and burned. He'd been a hotshot entrepreneur once, or so he thought, until bad deals and worse decisions left him broke. Maple Ridge was his stage, his fake HOA a twisted way to feel powerful again, punishing us for his failures. The discovery hit like a thunderclap. We weren't just VY Tims. We were pawns in his pathetic game. But now we had the truth, and it was a weapon. We planned our strike. Sullivan's next inspection was coming, a chance for his crew to flex their fake power. Not this time. We called local news, tipped off reporters, and gathered every scrap of evidence of photos, notices, testimonies, even recordings of Sullivan's threats. My Lee VYing room became a war room, maps and papers strewn across the table, neighbors buzzing with nervous energy. Sarah passed out coffee, her eyes fierce with hope. But doubt crept in. What if Sullivan slipped away? What if the media didn't show? Late one night, Jenkins called, panicked, saying he'd seen Sullivan's goons watching his house. Fear clawed at me, but I pushed it down. We had one shot, and we couldn't miss. The morning of the showdown, Maple Ridge hummed with tension. News vans lined the street, satellite dishes gleaming like armor. Reporters set up cameras, their presence a lifeline. Sullivan's enforcers rolled up, all swagger, clutching their fake rulebooks, expecting us to cower. Instead, they faced a wall of 50 neighbors shoulder to shoulder, eyes blazing. I stepped forward, the crumpled notice in my hand, heart pounding but voice steady. "Show us your authority, Greg," I said. His smirk faltered, eyes darting. The crowd pressed closer, phones recording, camera flashes popping. Sullivan stammered, his lies crumbling under the glare of truth. A reporter shouted, "Is it true your HOA's fake?" His face went pale, the crowd roaring, sensing blood. Then real cops arrived, badges gleaming, warrants in hand. Our EVY Denke had sparked an investigation, and Sullivan's scam was over. His enforcers froze, handcuffs clicking as they were led away. Cheers erupted, raw and wild, neighbors hugging, tears mixing with laughter. Sarah grabbed my hand, her smile brighter than the sun. Cameras caught it all, beaming our VY Tory nationwide. Maple Ridge wasn't just a suburb anymore. It was a beacon of defiance. Weeks later, we rebuilt. Hammers rang out, fences rose, gardens bloomed with chrysanthemums and roses replanted by low VYing hands. Kids ran free, their laughter a melody of freedom. We formed a real HOA, open and fair, meetings filled with voices, not fear. Sullivan's name became a ghost story, a warning of unchecked power. Standing by my new fence, the sun warm on my face, I saw what we'd done. We hadn't just rebuilt wood. We'd rebuilt trust, strength, a community that stood tall. But here's the kicker. Was Sullivan just a con man, or did our silence let him fester? Could we have stopped him sooner if we'd spoken up? And why did it take a neighborhood revolt to expose a fraud the city missed? What would you have done, fought back, or paid the fines for peace? How do we stop the next Sullivan before he tears another community apart? Drop your thoughts below, hit like if this fired you up, and subscribe for more stories of real people taking a stand. Let's keep this fight alive.